Yeah, like I said in the beginning of our chat, Arlen, services and products, those folks are going to be getting the majority of visibility in SEO. We've seen how AI is coming through, and there's two versions of it coming through. One is in the SERP, one is in AI engines, and the third is how we're producing things with AI. We'll keep that out of the conversation, at least for now. But in terms of the visibility, there's been a lot of informational queries that are now being taken up by a big block at the top. Be it in the search, generated by AI.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen and I am your host. Today we have a very special guest, Nick Musica, who has been a hands-on SEO expert since 2003. He led efforts at companies like Esurance, Rocket Lawyer, and High Point Insurance, now Plymouth Rock, before founding his own agency, Optics, back in 2019. His team specializes in SEO strategy and execution for small business across finance, technology, and cannabis. A co-author of When Search Meets Usability, Nick has also taught UX at NYU and spoken at top industry events like SMX Germany and ClickZ in San Francisco. Welcome to the podcast, Nick.
Thank you, Arlen. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Today, got a hot topic. We're going to be talking about how to boost your e-commerce sales with Smart SEO and Design, which is your kind of wheelhouse. And so I'm really excited to see what you have in that arena and kind of what you can help add to our discussion for the businesses and the marketers that are listening. But I'm really just curious about your overall journey before we get into it. How really did you go from working with some of those major companies before and then decide to launch your agency back in 2019? What was that whole trajectory like?
Yeah, I was working after those brands. I started to work at a little company here in San Diego, a local publisher, and we had a website, dmb.org. It happened to produce a whole lot of content about the division of motor vehicle, right? It was a super affiliate. Like it had a whole we took all 51 states, DC being a state in this context, and created, for example, like how to get a license in, name the state, lost license in state, registration in state, lost registration, that type of thing. And so it had 5,000, 10,000 pages, depending on the domain we're talking about. And the domain itself was registered in 1999. And what people still make the mistake with today is when they see .org, they think it's the government, right? Government domains end in .gov, not .org.
Yes,
you can go register .org today if you really wanted to. But a lot of people think .org is the government. So this site got a ton of backlinks.
I see.
Right, for the DMB. And meanwhile, there's a banner at the top of the website that says, we're not the DMB, we're a private publisher, right? It doesn't matter. And so I started with that company. There's about like 7 full-time equivalents. The traffic at the time was 85 million visits a year. This was in 2012. And then 6 years later, the company's up to about 40 people, and we're getting about 185 million visits a year through SEO for the most part. Wow. And it was a great company. It was a ton of fun. lot of cool people there. Learned a lot of good stuff, and I sort of topped out on SEO at the time. I didn't want to. Where else are you going to go after you get 185 million visits a year, right?
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
not a lot of places to go, right? So I was thinking,
True.
go to the Bay Area. Who would I talk to? eBay, like someone big like that. But I enjoy San
Mhm.
Diego. I already did 3 years up in the Bay Area, and so as a result, I went to a local company here, startup, and within 9 months, I was gone. I just didn't want to do it. It wasn't what I want to focus my time on while I was
Mhm.
there, and I wasn't focused solely on SEO. I was running the company there, so
Okay.
I didn't. I realized SEO. I still want to do it, but I want to do it for myself as an agency, and I
Mhm.
want to do it for smaller companies, medium size. So it really depends. Not mom and pops necessarily, or they just can't afford it. They don't have the resources, but smaller companies and also some bigger companies. They just need a bunch of help.
Sure.
Um, so in 2019, here was my business plan that Harvard Business Review will never publish. It was
Okay.
it was quit my job, start
Mhm.
Optics In, make it work. That was
Okay.
it. That was
That
it.
was it.
That was
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
And
That's all you knew. You knew you wanted to branch out. You knew you wanted to do your own thing as far as SEO, and that's all you knew.
that's all I knew. Yeah, and
Okay.
I don't recommend that for anyone else.
Right.
It's not there's a reason why Harvard Business Review will not cover that story, right?
Right, right.
Um, and I've been reading lately, like most companies, and I thought this used to apply to restaurants, but I've been seeing it apply to companies. And within 5 years, you're
Hmm.
done. And I'm like, awesome, over 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Um, and so that was sort of it.
Hmm.
I gave notice, gave myself 4 weeks to hedge my bets, but I didn't have any contracts when I gave notice. I had
Okay.
zero contracts.
Hmm.
And it was probably like week 3, I'm thinking about the next week that's coming around, and it's my
Yeah.
last week at my current employer, right? And what's happening here. And
Hmm.
it's midnight. It's midnight, like week 3. And I'm printing out 3 SOWs, 3 contracts.
Hmm.
And keep in mind, I didn't have anything when I gave notice. And there was really no
Yeah.
conversations that were happening either.
Oh wow.
Like sort of all
But
magic
you,
happened. Yeah, like
yeah. So you just knew, regardless, you were ready to go. You were ready to do your own thing.
I was ready to go. Yeah, and I remember telling my wife, I said, I'm gonna start my own agency, and
Mhm.
I'm just gonna make it work. And
Okay.
thank God she didn't say, so tell me about that, right? Like, because
Right, right, right.
oh,
Pump the brakes a little bit.
oh,
Slow down, slow down, cowboy.
give me a headline around make it work. What does that mean, right? Like, oh,
Right,
I don't
right.
know. But it all started
Yeah.
to
Okay.
line up, and I walked into 3 or 4 months um, of paid work, 60 hours a week, give or take.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it worked out right out of the gate. So
Yeah,
cool. And
that's impressive. Yeah, you're definitely a better man than me. As I was telling you before we started, I started my business back in the year 2000, and I first was working for a consulting firm in the Northern Virginia area, doing a variety of stuff, management. I was doing software development, I was doing web development, I was doing a variety of things. And myself and my business partner, this was, of course, the early days of the internet, 2000. And we kind of already knew my business partner, someone I went to college with, a good friend of college at the time, and we knew we wanted to do something, but late nights, kind of putting things together, putting a business plan together, knowing we wanted to do a web development business, and kind of help improve the presence of a lot of companies that had really super basic websites. We wanted to kind of take things to the next level, and yeah, we jumped ship from our companies, but it wasn't until we had something. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot of guts. Yeah, we got a contract while we were working with our with our consulting firms. He was working for the different consulting firm, and we didn't really jump ship until we had enough resources that we knew
yeah,
could sustain us. So yeah, I could imagine that's kind of a nerve wracking feeling, but I guess you really just had faith that it was going to work out. That's what you wanted to do, and you
Yeah,
put your mind to it?
I mean, it was part that, it was part the company I was at. We experienced it was a CBD company, and
Okay.
it had been around for a while and it was doing pretty well. And I got there, and the traffic and the revenue started to go up really nicely.
Yeah.
And here's what happened in May of 2019. Google came out with an algorithm shift, an algorithm change.
Mhm.
And we were ranking very well on page one, and then all of a sudden
Okay.
not, right? Like
Wow.
40% overnight just went missing.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and it wasn't only us though. It was folks
Hmm.
who were our competitors at the
Hmm.
time. They
Oh,
also
wow.
went missing,
Hmm.
right? And as it turns out, all those competitors all existed before the Farm Bill of, I forget when it was. It was either December 2018 or January 2019.
Right.
But all those companies existed before the Farm Bill got passed, and the Farm Bill made CBD legal.
Okay.
So the company I was working for, all the other companies who went missing were operating in a black market.
Mm.
Fast forward 5 months after CBD became legal and the algorithm changes,
I see.
everyone operating in the black market sort of went missing.
Okay, gotcha.
And now there's 5 months of new websites that have been
Hmm.
operating in a legal environment. Now
Hmm.
they have the visibility.
They were getting all of visibility, so everything just kind of
It just
turned,
shifted.
just
It just
just
shifted.
overnight, really. Okay, well,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's I believe that's what happened there, is that there was a line in the
Okay.
sand that was drawn. You were
Yeah.
operating black market, you shouldn't have visibility. You were operating
Yeah.
legally, you should have visibility.
Yeah, interesting, and that kind of leads me to a question that I have as far as SEO is concerned, because as you just mentioned, it's constantly changing. No one knows what's going to happen with Google's algorithm. What are they going to do behind the scenes? When could your site be, delisted for whatever reason, or what could happen? So things are
Yeah.
always changing, and now with AI being included, it's a lot going on. What would you say for e-commerce business owners that are listening and marketers? Would you say today are the most important SEO fundamentals that a business should focus on this year, 2025?
Yeah, so I would say this. We'll back into that answer. So for small publishers, even big publishers like Forbes is having a hard time because they
Hmm.
essentially rented out parts of their website for affiliate links. And there's been a bunch of other folks who did that. So
Hmm.
affiliates, small publishers, some bigger publishers are having a hard time now with SEO. But the
Yeah.
folks who have and will always be, as far as I can tell, based on history and how Google works,
Hmm.
be have the most to gain from SEO are folks with products and services. Those
Yeah.
are the ones.
Yes.
Um,
Mm.
and and so like what's most relevant today? There's well, depending on the context, there's three or four pillars of SEO. We'll say there's three for specifically a website. There's your technical, there's your on page, and there's your off page. And so let's break those down a
Hmm.
little bit. And these have been around for 20 years. The expression of them have changed throughout time because technology changes, because SEOs are really good at a couple things. One, getting visibility, and two, in mass, when someone finds a hole and black hats
Hmm.
get a hold of it, like they just pound Google, and Google has to then make a correction, right?
Yeah.
So SEOs, lesser SEOs, I would argue, are really good at taking a valid marketing tactic and just decimating it, right? So that's where
Hmm.
some of
Yeah.
the changes come through. But for products and
Gotcha.
services, for that technical, the on page and the off page, the technical,
Hmm.
there's two questions there. Can Google, uh, can it index my website? Yes or no?
Hmm.
And
Right.
then how effectively can it crawl and index my website? Right.
Hmm.
So there's some controls around pass fail that should be checked. Um, and then we get into the efficiency of it. So, for example, like I live in a 50 person or 50 unit complex here, and
Okay.
and and if the mailman were to come to try to deliver the mail, to each and every house, let's say he has a half
Hmm.
hour to get through 50 units, right? What's going
Hmm.
to make his time most effective is to go to each and every unit, knock on the door, hand the mail, and be done, right? You can get through the 50 units very quickly that way. If he has to knock on the door, no one answers. He's now waiting around a little bit longer, right? Not efficient. Or someone answers the door, he hands the mail, they go, oh, that's not me. That person moved, right? Like these are all metaphors for efficiency for what can happen with your website, right? So what you want to do is have a very clean architecture for Google to crawl and index your website. And if you can do that, then the next question is, well, what's available for rank? And that's the on page, right? And so what on page is, it answers, what do you do and how do you talk about it to users, right? So what are the keywords you use? Who are the audience you serve? Is it video? Is it long form content? What type of content do you have for Google to crawl and index and then rank? And who are you talking to? And how do they search, right? How are they searching for your product? I have a bigger client now who's, I can't give away all the information on them, but they're in industry, they're in industrial. And the query volume just is not a lot. However, you don't need a lot of query volume. You need the right searchers for these folks, right? Because the price tag is, we're not selling little widgets for $1, right? We're not doing that. We're selling $1 million products. How many of those a year do you need to keep the company going, or more importantly, to keep it growing, right? So when we finally hook up the Google local business profile, and you start getting reporting on that, last month it was 9 visits from Google business listing. It's not because it's not getting visibility. It's because that's how many people found this company through this listing. And those are 9 qualified leads. There's no one who should be searching for this specific product except people in the know. Those are qualified 9 people, right?
People that are doing direct searches for the particular product.
Oh my God, give me another channel where people are actively searching for what you sell. There's not too many of them out there, right? What are you going to direct mail me to death? You're going to paid search me to, right? Like, what are you going to do, right? Like, build it once, build it well, maintain it, and you have an asset to grow your business. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you mentioned about use the analogy of a mailman going through your complex, a 50 unit complex one by one, and making sure, there's nothing that's going to hold these Google crawlers up that's going to go through it. How important is the e-commerce platform that these stores are on when it comes to things like crawling? Because a lot of businesses are on platforms like Shopify, they're on Wix, they're on Squarespace. And a lot of people are, a lot of these businesses are using some of the built-in templates, some of the free ones. A lot of them are using the free ones. Some of them are using the paid ones. Some are customizing them. Does that bear a lot of weight on how well Google can rank, or crawl these particular sites?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll break it down in a couple different ways. One is sometimes technology just one doesn't equal the other, and so there's lesser platforms out there. So we'll just go with you get what you pay for, right? That's one way to look at it. It's not to say that if you're coming out with your own first website, to go into it slowly, to do what you got to do to get yourself in the marketplace, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, do that. But I would just go with, depending on your starting point, your thinking starting point about your business, you're either e-commerce or you're not, right? Either you're e-commerce, and the obvious answer is Shopify, or you're selling services, and that's probably WordPress. But you can also do e-commerce in WordPress just as easily as with Shopify. Now you get into the differences between those two systems. Shopify is a little more a little closed. WordPress, you can do everything. So the con of closed is it may take more effort to actually do some customization in there. And WordPress, you can do anything in there. The con of doing WordPress is you can do anything in there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because if you're not watching how you're doing what you're doing, then your architecture, your technical architecture can start to get some holes and efficiencies, et cetera. Now we're back to the conversation of, can Google crawl your website efficiently? Because it did on day
Mm-hmm.
one. We already said it did, right? We checked it.
Yeah.
Things are cool. You made so many changes, put so many plugins in. I mean, there was a site I
Mm-hmm.
was working on a couple of years ago. I think it had like 70 something plugins, and like 10 of them were actually being
Mm.
used. Right, so now you have
Okay. Wow.
inefficiencies of the system. It wasn't being maintained. Inefficiencies of the system.
Mm-hmm.
You have security issues. All right, so you can't just build it and forget it. You need to
Right.
maintain it. You need folks on it. But the majority of the sites we work with are Shopify and WordPress.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, uh, we're talking about SEO a lot and primarily organic ranking. You talked about kind of the things that you were doing at the company that you were with prior to you starting your own agency, and the incredible amount of traffic that site was getting, which was, I believe, was mainly organic traffic. Now, these days, there's almost like a little dance I think business owners are playing between getting traffic the organic way as well as getting traffic the paid way, the paid strategies. How would you recommend that, businesses, kind of coordinate the two, and as far as budgeting is concerned and just
Yeah,
overall logistics?
yeah. So for a lot of folks, I would say you want to approach SEO on day one with one or two mindsets. One is, don't do anything fancy. Don't get into any type of bad practices. Don't go by
Yeah.
a million bad links because I thought I heard a
Yeah.
friend, a forum said don't do that. Like, it's better to
Yeah.
not do
Yeah.
anything than it is to build a
Mhm.
bad history.
I
Right.
see.
So there's one. Number two is, if you care about SEO on day one, let's get fundamental SEO in. Let's make sure the technical content or the technical architecture is good. Let's make sure we get some content on the site so we know what we're ranking for and people are searching for. You don't have to blow out a 100-page website, depending on what we're
Hmm.
talking about, but you need some fundamentals in play.
Yeah.
Um, and then, folks, the decision point is, I need to drive revenue today or I'm building a brand today, right? If I'm driving revenue today, we're in a direct response model. You're putting a
Mhm.
dollar down in paid search, you're getting a dollar and a penny back, and now it's a scale conversation. So you can
Mhm.
do that for a long time, and then you get into a point of diminishing returns, and also it gets expensive. And so then you go, well, where else? How else
Mhm.
do I lower my costs? SEO typically comes in that conversation at that point in time, because now you've
I
proven
see.
out the model and now you want to build it out. Well, let's start working on the website so we can start to tailor back our paid search. You probably don't ever want to shut it off, but
Mhm.
you want to tailor it back a bit. And now you have two places in the SERPs at least. And here's
Mhm.
the thing: there's something called Google gullibility. If you are
Mhm.
ranking high on the page, you quote unquote deserve to be ranking on that page, says the
Right.
user, right? And so
Mhm.
if that
Mhm.
is true, who cares what is actually true? What we care about is what is actually happening. And
Yes.
right, even the worst products, if they're up there, they deserve to be there. They must be good products, right? Not all the time, but
Mhm.
let's assume you have a good product and service. Um, you have that Google gullibility playing in your favor, and it should be. Now it's a matter of, how good is your product, how's your customer service, things of that nature,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah. So you're saying there should never really be a point in time where you cut off the paid traffic, the paid search, because even if you're just doing tremendous organic, your rankings are just through the roof. You're getting just, let's just say millions and millions of visitors, that you're at that type of level. Um, you still want to have that paid search presence out there.
I mean, if you're a bigger company, you can afford to do it. You're blocking your competitors from being in the spaces sometimes,
Yeah,
or you're
true,
pushing them
true.
down. Um,
Yes.
you know, always. I don't know if I would go with always for just about anything we're talking about, but
Yeah.
if you can afford it and you're getting the ROI, great. Um,
Hmm.
Marketing. Going back to that direct response model, typically it's, there is a channel, and you put a dollar down, you get a dollar back, whatever it is, and
Hmm.
it's typically paid,
Hmm.
right? It's social, it's paid search, whatever it may be. Um, but that's not how the world works. It's not how we experience products. We do searches on Google. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We take a look at the paid searches, whatever it is. Human beings get
Mm-hmm.
various touch points from everywhere. So a general marketing mix as to why you're spending money in very specific places, I think, could be very thoughtful, without getting into the pain of attribution models, which is another conversation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I totally get that. And especially what you said as far as you always have to have the competitors in mind, regardless of what it is that you're doing. If your competitors are, let's say you're just relying on your organic listings, you're going to have some competitors that are doing that paid search. And those they're taking people's eyeballs away from you into those paid search areas. So I see what you're saying. It really, you have to maintain a presence. Otherwise it's, you're going to kind of miss out. There's really, I don't think, it just seems like there's no way around it.
Yeah. I mean, on day one, it could be, we're going to focus on paid. We're going to focus on SEO. We're going to focus on whatever the channel is. But on day two, after the company matures, after we make money and it's a little more predictable, it's a yes and conversation, right? It's paid search and SEO. It's SEO and paid search and email. It's like it gets bigger. Right. We're not getting smaller. We're getting bigger.
Well, Nick, as we get ready to wrap things up, I'm always looking ahead at the future of all technology, because as we know, everything is just moving so quickly, specifically with SEO. What trends or algorithm changes do you foresee, that could have the biggest impact on e-commerce businesses in the next few years?
Yeah. Like I said in the beginning of our chat, Arlen, services and products, those folks are going to be getting the majority of visibility in SEO. We've seen how AI is coming through, and there's two versions of it coming through. One is in the SERP, one is in AI engines, right?
Yeah.
And the third is how we're producing things with AI. So we'll keep that out of the conversation, at least for now. But in terms of the visibility, there's been a lot of informational queries that are now being taken up by a big block at the top, be it in the search, generated by AI. So people are getting their quick answers there, and so we don't need these long pages that never really answered the question to begin with.
Right, exactly.
Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be talking about your products and services in a blog. You should be,
right.
and the company that's going to get the most value out of that are going to be companies that have legitimate products and services. At this point, small publishers, Joe Blow, who's a pro at doing whatever he does, he should have a voice. But right now, that person's having a hard time getting visibility in Google. Affiliates, if you're not bringing something really unique to the table, your visibility is very, very minimal at this point in search. So back to those products, back to those services. Those are the folks we typically work with. Those are the folks who typically get the best bang for their SEO buck.
Yeah. I've definitely seen that myself. Yeah, very very interesting. It just sounds like, the fundamentals aren't going to change too much in the coming years, regardless of what happens with AI. So yeah, it's just not going to be a major shift per se, where it's just going to be like, you go to Google and everything is totally different. It's changing, but as far as the fundamentals, that like you said, it's not really going to change that much.
Yeah. I mean, our specialty is information retrieval. So if it's done in Google, great. If it's done in Bing, great. It used to be done in Yahoo. It used to be done in Ask, right? That's changed. Is it going to be done in a AI engine? Maybe. Yeah. So any place that retrieval happens, that's where we're going to be serving clients.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, Nick, it's been an awesome conversation. Thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge of SEO and the internet, based on your experience. I know our listeners and viewers have learned a lot. I know I have as well. But lastly, before we do let you go, I always like to switch gears just so our audience can get to know you on a lighter note. What would you say would be a closing fun fact about yourself that you think we would be interested to know?
Oh, I don't know. We were talking at the top of our time about where we are. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but I'm in San Diego. If you're ever around
Yeah.
here, hit me up for a coffee. Love to grab a coffee with you and chat about SEO or what the next best thing here to do in Southern California is.
Okay, awesome. We'll definitely be sure to do that. I know I will be because San Diego is a lovely part of our country and definitely some place that I want to go back to myself sometime soon. Yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And lastly, before we do let you go, if our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about SEO and anything under that umbrella, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, you can hit me up in LinkedIn, Nick Musica, or you can go to opticsin.com. Either way, the next step is going to be a discovery call. Let's talk about your website.
Okay.
Let's talk about what SEO can do for you. Let's see if SEO is a match, and then let's see if
Okay.
we're matches for each other.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Well, thank you, Nick, for sharing that. We'll definitely have those links, your LinkedIn profile, as well as a link to your website in our show notes so people can check you out there. And once again, it's awesome having you on the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.